Sometimes the best solution is not found in a box from an off-road shop. It's found in the electrical aisle at a hardware store. Let's explore what it takes to build an affordable roof rack with materials you can source locally. No shipping, no welding, well, no welding required. Just a little processed steel, aka Unistrut, a little creativity, and some nuts and bolts. What's cracking? I'm Dylan from DIY Overdrive. In this video, I'll explain 5 things that will help you in your roof rack journey, so stay focused. Don't want you to miss anything. Number 1, and probably the most important aspect to consider when building your DIY rack, is material. Most people will jump straight into extruded aluminum. It's what the store-bought racks use, and for good reason. It's super strong in numbers when you've got a whole bunch of crossbars all working together. It's really lightweight, and it's pretty versatile. Now, my preference, and what I'm surprised is really not a household name for most people, is Unistrut. Unistrut's a brand. Unistrut, Superstrut. What it really is strut channel is the generic name. What sets strut channel or Unistrut apart for me is the fact that the sticks themselves, as well as all the hardware and brackets, you can buy in Home Depot, Lowe's. You can get it cheaper online. It's super available, and you don't run into the same fitment issues that you do sometimes with extruded aluminum. I've had 30 series extruded aluminum before and purchased the nuts that fit 30 series, and it doesn't fit, and I have to grind them down. The profile inside is slightly different. And with Unistrut, it's universally dimensioned. So you can buy the T-nuts or channel nuts from basically anywhere, and they'll fit any channel that you purchase. A lot of people will fabricate and weld together their own rack, but I like being able to bolt things together. Yes, I will sometimes extend or do certain things and weld it together, but when it comes to DIY, I like to be able to share projects that most people can do at home, and I think that sometimes welding will exclude a few people, and that's nothing wrong with that. I do encourage you to buy a Harbor Freight cheap welder, or maybe one on Amazon, learn how to weld, but this is all about being able to do something without welding that you can bolt together yourself. The extruded aluminum, it doesn't rust. Likewise, Unistrut, at least for the most part, doesn't rust because it's galvanized. Now, it will rust anywhere where you make a cut. So you want to make sure you coat it, paint it, do something to help prevent the rust on the cuts. Now, like I already said, builders and DIYers already know this stuff. They already use it in many different situations and different use cases. And you can get it in the store, like I said, all the nuts, bolts, hardware, the actual sticks themselves. But something I don't see talked about enough with Unistrut is its availability in the used market. Now, I can't tell you how many times and in how many different kinds of places I've found Unistrut for sale on Marketplace and OfferUp. I've searched for it so much. The Marketplace algorithm is constantly sending it to me when new ones become available. I've found them in neighborhoods, in commercial parks, all kinds of places. Now, for the rack behind me that I just finished building that I'm showing you in this video, I got 15 sticks for $150. Now, compare that to $40 a stick at Home Depot and Lowe's, at least in my area. It gets pretty expensive really quick. So this one only cost me $200 all in because I got 15 sticks for 150 bucks, and I only used 5 sticks total to make this rack. So that's 50 bucks worth right there. So if you're resourceful enough to build a custom rack like this, I bet that you'd be able to find it, at least some pieces of it, used on Marketplace and OfferUp, and save yourself a lot of money, just like I did for this one. The nuts, bolts, hardware, and brackets are something that I usually will buy on Amazon. You can get it on eBay too, but I like the fast shipping, I'll be honest. And it's a lot cheaper on Amazon than at the hardware store, Lowe's and Home Depot. I'm talking like half to a third the price buying it online in bulk. So I put my affiliate Amazon link in the description below so that you can see exactly what I use and what I purchase when I'm doing a project like this. And it also helps me out more than you could ever know if you use my affiliate links. Another important consideration is going to be layout. There's a few different ways that you can build a rack like this, whether it's Unistrut or extruded aluminum. And my favorite way to do this for many reasons, is to do 2 main rails with the crossbars on top. Usually I'm able to bolt through the Unistrut crossbars straight into the main front to rear rails. I was just off enough that instead of bolting through, I had to use these brackets here to lock it down because of the fixed mounting points that were already in the roof. Usually if I was drilling and making my own mounts in their own places, I would make sure they're spaced in a way that I could use the pre-existing holes in the Unistrut and just bolt straight through. No problem though. These brackets are probably honestly stronger at the end of the day, and they work great. Another common way to lay out a DIY rack is to cut the crossbars to fit in between the main rails here and then use straight brackets to bolt them on. Part of the reason I don't like that is because now your crossbars are hanging from hardware instead of sitting on top. That's really probably the least of your worries because the hardware is very strong, so I wouldn't concern too much about that. But what it is for me more so is, especially when you're mounting something like a rooftop tent where you need to be able to get your hands underneath to do your mounting for the mounting rails on a tent, or really anything that you mount up here that your hands have to go underneath. You need these crossbars to be up high enough that you can actually get your hand underneath. And so in this situation where I put these brackets on, upside down. I actually used the same brackets that are up here. I gained that height that was required by putting my crossbars on top. That prevented me from needing to do some kind of a special or custom or expensive type of a leg that would get it up high enough. This was just kind of the most easy and versatile way to do it quickly and on a budget. Number 4 is mounting. Now this could be a potential roadblock for some of you that don't have reinforced roofs that are designed to take a roof rack. I was extremely lucky that with this transit van, I didn't know this when we bought it, but it already has pre-formed, pre-reinforced flat spaces up here that are designed for roof rack legs, which is incredible. In contrast, the Suburban that I'm working on, it's a 1988, and square body Suburban trucks, the square body Chevys are my favorite vehicles on the planet, and I'm building a roof rack for that one right now, and it's going directly into the sheet metal. Not a whole lot of, or actually 0 reinforcement from the factory on that. But so what I did there was I built a plate that I farmed to fit the roof, and with the intention of spreading the load as much as possible. I also sourced aluminum Unistrut for that project in an effort to keep it as light as possible up there, because I really don't like the idea of mounting heavy things directly to sheet with no structure, no engineered structure underneath. So if you do need to drill and do your own mounting, a good way to do that, if you don't want to do through bolting with a nut, you can get riv nuts, which are very cool. You just need to be careful with how you use them. I've had to drill my fair share out after putting them in, and they can be messed up. But if you riv nut, put some plates in there, some big washers, whatever you can to reinforce it so it's strong enough. But if you're lucky like I am with this project, you might have pre-made spots that are pre-threaded and already ready to take roof rack legs and accept the weight. So another important aspect is sealing the hole, whether it's a pre-made hole like this or you're making your own hole and putting riv nuts or bolts through it. You're gonna want to get a good sealer. So what I'm using is polyurethane that's in a caulking tube. It's the Loctite brand, and it's made for, this one is made specifically for roofing and flashing. So it's designed to keep the roof on your house on. It does a pretty good job of sealing up a roof rack. So I have that polyurethane in between every layer. And what I actually have here is a square washer that I got on Amazon. That's for in an effort to spread the load of the rack across the top of the sheet here. Then the same bracket that I have on top, I have upside down with another washer, and then I bolted all the way through that with a polyurethane in between every layer. When I painted this hardware, I made sure I tried my best not to paint the mounting surfaces that get the polyurethane. That way the polyurethane is sticking to the source material instead of just sticking to the paint. I'm really happy with the way this turned out. These brackets are quite affordable, and it just made it so easy to get this on here. And with doing one at a time and then using the Unistrut to line them up, push it against it to make sure they're all straight before I really tighten them down. It just worked really great, and I'm happy with it. Now on to number 5, and that's going to be size. I am a total sucker for large roof racks. The bigger the better. You can never have too much storage for things, especially with the way that we pack. And we're going to have a rooftop tent up here. We want room for an air conditioner in the roof. So to be able to accommodate all of that the best possible way, was to extend the rack. And while earlier I said no welding, it was, again, no welding required. I extended the main rails by 2.5 feet. A Unistrut stick is 10 feet by default, so I made it just a little over 12 feet, and I welded it together. And if you're going to do that, you end up with an overhang that's, I don't know, 3.5 or 4 feet long. So you're going to want to get some brackets to make legs to support the front of the rack. Now, I didn't drill and tap and riv nut up here. I just basically glued it with some polyurethane, because this isn't necessarily, I'm not relying on it to keep it up here. I'm more so just wanting to give it a little bit of support for the little bit of weight that's up here, because we're putting a featherlight tent up here. It's not going to be that heavy. We just wanted to help with some of that down pressure, which is why the polyurethane is more than enough to do the job for that. The legs that I made, I used 2 right angle L brackets that are designed for use with Unistrut. But what I did is I put them together to make a C, and you could absolutely bolt them together, but what I did is I pulled out the Yes Welder TIG welder, and I just melted the edges together so that it's something that I knew I would never need to adjust it. It's glued on, it's there forever. So again, you don't have to weld it. That kind of thing is just a bonus if you fabricate yourself or know someone that can. Now for the lights. These lights I got on Amazon. They're about 40 bucks a piece, which is by far the cheapest thing that I could find, minus sourcing them from China yourself. But the brackets happen to line up perfectly. The 2 brackets fit perfectly into 2 holes on the Unistrut and made it really easy to mount. I didn't really know if it was faster to put the brackets all on first and then the lights, or do the light on the bracket as I did each one. I did it both ways. There was no big benefit either way. That's something you want to make sure you have some washers on the bolt side, so that your bolt doesn't just come straight through the bottom of the Unistrut. So that's something that I'm really happy with the way that turned out. I already had these on hand because I bought them in bulk a while back. I probably would go with something bigger. These are 5-inch, and I would definitely have picked out some 7 or 9-inch lights to help fill that gap better. Maybe I'll do that at some point, but this is what I already had. I used these same lights on the 4Runner, and I'm really happy with them, so no regrets there. They would just look better visually if they were bigger. If wiring up lights is something that you don't know how to do and you need some help with, if it's something that you're interested in seeing a video about, let me know in the comments below so that I can prioritize making a video like that to show you exactly how I would set up some auxiliary off-road driving lights. I know I said at the beginning that this video was 5 things to consider, but it would be wrong of me not to mention the most visible part of this rack, which would really, this comes down to design. And I'm talking about that side panel on each side of the rack. That's something that you're used to seeing on a lot of store-bought racks, because those side panels are actually the legs or mounts that are holding this thing to the roof. But for us, Micah just wanted it to look nice, so I made her some sides to it. And this was some scrap aluminum sheet that I found, again, on Marketplace or OfferUp, one of the two. And it was, I don't know, 20 bucks for a big sheet of it, because someone was just getting rid of the aluminum. So I got my saw out, measured, cut, drilled a couple holes, and bolted it to the roof rack with a right angle bracket. I painted the whole rack with Rust-Oleum. It was Canyon Black Satin, the painter's touch line from Rust-Oleum, with primer all in one. And the best way to buy that I found, cheaper than Amazon, is if you go to Home Depot and you search for the one that you're looking for, or maybe it's just with the black, I don't know. But Home Depot is by far the cheapest, online only. It was 13 something for 3 cans. Now compare that to Amazon, where it's about $6 a can, or in store where it's 7 or 8 usually. And this last bit is something that is more of a do as I say, not as I do. You want to use as much stainless steel hardware as you can. And I'm talking about the nuts and bolts specifically. That will help prevent rust, improve the longevity of anything that you build, really. But the roof rack is first in contact with water, weather, sun, all of it. So use stainless steel hardware when you can. I've got a lot of zinc plated stuff in there. I've used a lot of zinc plated hardware for years, especially on my 4Runner rack. And when it starts getting too old, I just replace it. It's not that expensive, but find some stainless steel hardware on Amazon. Something I felt a little insecure about was the gap that was left over up here, because my cuts weren't perfect when I cut the bottom of the side plates there. So what I did that helped a lot and might help you is I got some weather stripping. Actually, it's left over from a video where I installed a Tacoma bumper on my 4Runner, and it turned out pretty cool. But I had plenty of extra weather stripping left over, so that really helped finish off the bottom there and close that gap and make it look a little more intentional, instead of like someone didn't know what the heck they were doing. And it was pretty easy to put on. I came from behind and I used one of my trim tools. That's something I'll link below also. Nylon trim tools are a really good thing to have, so that you can work with accessories and things that you're installing, body panels, without scratching the paint. So I just kind of wedged it on as I pushed. So that was easy to put on. Now, this is far from the last video on this van. We're getting ready for a trip next month, and I'm hoping that we can get it done in time, because there's a lot to do, and the plans that we have for it are going to make this van much more comfortable, and we're going to do it as budget friendly as we possibly can and share it all with you. So please stay tuned for the next one. Thank you all so much for watching. Again, my name is Dylan from DIY Overdrive. See you on the next one.